Welcome to the Urban Herald Deep Dive. We're part of the analysis team here at the Urban Herald, and today we're digging into something that feels like, well, a real paradox in modern entertainment.
It really is quite something. I mean, think about it. We're nearly 80 years into commercial television.
Hmm.
And this whole digital revolution, the streaming era, it was supposed to be the final nail in the coffin for content piracy, right?
Exactly. The promise was simple. Get everything you want instantly, legally, affordably, no more shady downloads.
And for a while, it almost felt like that. But that optimism, it's completely vanished.
Yeah, it really has. We've been crunching the numbers, looking at our evergreen analysis and proprietary research here at the Urban Herald. And honestly, the conclusion feels unavoidable now. Streaming fragmentation drives piracy. It seems to be the single biggest reason we're seeing this, frankly, shocking comeback of content theft in 2025.
Right. And what we want to do today is give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut through all the noise. Our goal here is to really dissect the data, pinpoint how the industry's own choices, this relentless push for exclusivity, kind of backfired, and show that this piracy surge isn't just, bad actors. It's often a pretty rational response from consumers caught in what we're calling the subscription labyrinth.
Okay, let's unpack this right away then, because we're defining the core issue from the get-go. Piracy is back, it's big, and it's overwhelmingly driven by, well, sheer inconvenience. It's just too complicated.
People are genuinely exhausted by it all. Subscription fatigue is real. There's this huge cognitive load just trying to manage all these different apps, different logins, different bills. And fundamentally, you often just can't find the show you want in one reliable legal place anymore.
So cost is part of it, obviously, but
Yeah.
you're saying it's not the main driver.
It's a factor, absolutely. But it's secondary to this breakdown in convenience. The promise was abundance and simplicity. What got delivered? Scarcity and complexity. The user experience has basically been sacrificed for competitive advantage between platforms. And guess who's benefiting?
The pirates, offering the simplicity the legal market ditched.
Precisely. They're filling the gap left by the industry's fragmentation chaos.
Let's just step back for a second, maybe put this in context. 15 years ago, what were the options? You had these bloated, expensive cable packages, right? Full of channels you never watched. Or you had to physically go to Blockbuster. Remember that. It seems archaic now.
It does. And then Netflix arrived, Hulu followed.
Hmm.
It felt like a genuine revolution. Suddenly, you could watch what you wanted, when you wanted, on demand. It was cheaper, simpler. It matched how people actually wanted to watch TV.
And it worked. For a time, that model seemed unbeatable.
It really did. You offer more for less, make it easy, and, well, most people chose the legal route. Piracy started to feel like a solved problem, but that feeling, that victory lap, it was definitely premature. Our own sources, and this is backed up by MUSO data, they're the global authority on piracy tracking.
Right, MUSO.
Yeah, their data shows that by late 2020, piracy wasn't just lingering, it was already starting to climb back vigorously.
Okay, let's hit the data shock then, because these numbers, they really do paint a stark picture. This isn't just a feeling, it's a measurable trend.
It's staggering, honestly. It shows a fundamental breakdown. So piracy hits its absolute lowest point in 2020. Back then, MUSO recorded about 130 billion global visits to piracy sites. That looked like success, streaming at one.
130 billion sounds huge, but
Yeah.
that was the low point.
That was the low. Now, fast forward just 4 years to the 2024 data. Visits surged to 216.3 billion.
Wow. Okay, so that's what, like a 66% increase?
Exactly. A massive, quantifiable jump. Nearly two-thirds more traffic heading to illegal services in just 4 years. That kind of spike tells you something is deeply wrong within the legitimate streaming world.
And it's not just the volume, it's how people are pirating that's changed too, right? It's not like the old Napster days.
Not at all. The mechanics are totally different now, reflecting how we watch things today.
Yeah.
It's not primarily about peer-to-peer file sharing anymore. Torrents downloading massive files taking ages.
Right, the BitTorrent era.
That's still there, but the huge growth is elsewhere. Get this. A staggering 96% of TV and film piracy in 2023 came from unlicensed streaming sites.
Streaming sites. So they mimic the legal services.
Precisely. That distinction is absolutely critical. Torrenting needed special software. It took time, disk space. Modern piracy often looks and feels just like Netflix or Hulu. Slick interfaces, instant playback, often no buffering.
So the pirates basically copied the Netflix user experience, but just put everything behind that single interface.
You got it. And the data backs this up. Downloads are fading as the main method. By 2024, illicit streaming actually overtook downloads. Streaming methods accounted for 50.4% of piracy delivery. Downloads were just under half, at 49.6%.
That tells you what people want, doesn't it? Instant access, click and play.
Absolutely. They demand that streaming convenience above all else. And if the legal way means juggling 7 apps and a PhD in content licensing, they'll just find the one illegal app that gives them that seamless experience they were promised initially.
And what are they chasing? Is it mostly movies or?
TV still wears the dubious honor, as we call it. Television content accounts for nearly 45% of all illegal visits.
Almost half.
Yeah, and seems heavily driven by those big buzzworthy episodic shows. The things people binge, the shows they feel they need to keep up with, but can't reliably find or access across their various subscriptions.
Which brings us to this concept you mentioned, something from our research. The unwilling pirate. Can you explain that? It sounds important.
It's maybe the most, well, damning indictment of the whole situation. This isn't your stereotypical pirate looking for free stuff. This is someone who would pay. They often do pay for multiple services already. They have the money, they prefer legal means, but the system is so broken, so fragmented, they literally cannot access the show they want through legitimate channels.
That seems so counterintuitive, though. The person paying for 4 or 5 services is still pirating.
It does, right?
Yeah.
But their frustration isn't primarily about saving, say, $10 a month. It's the sheer inability to find that show they know exists. Maybe the license expired on platform A, or it's blocked in their country on platform B. The legal service is functionally useless for what they want to watch at that moment. So piracy becomes the easiest, most logical, frictionless workaround. It's simply the path of least resistance created by the industry itself.
Let's dive deeper into that chaos, that subscription labyrinth driving this unwilling pirate. I mean, who hasn't felt this? It's like digital musical chairs with your favorite shows. You sign up for Netflix specifically for show X. 6 months later, poof, it's gone. Then maybe 3 months later, it pops up on Paramount plus BUP. But wait, then it might jump to Peacock, maybe with missing seasons or a different episode order. It's maddening.
We've been tracking these examples for years, and it is genuinely exhausting for consumers. Think about huge shows, cultural touchstones even. Westworld, remember that? Just vanished from Max, apparently, to save on residual payments. Gone.
Wow. And Yellowstone, that's famously split, isn't it?
Oh yeah, a total mess. Some seasons on Peacock, the spin-offs on Paramount Plus Head, you need a flow chart.
Yeah.
Or The Office, the show that basically launched Peacock for millions, only for people to realize, hey, this license could expire too, and it might move again. There's no stability.
And this constant churn, this management headache, that's the cognitive load you mentioned.
Exactly. The average U.S. household, latest figures suggest, subscribes to 4 or 5 different streaming platforms, could be more. Each one has its own app, its own quirky interface, its own search quirks, some searches are terrible, and its own separate bill.
It's like having 5 different cable companies for different channels.
Pretty much. And that mental overhead, just keeping track, constantly checking where things are, managing passwords, bills, it creates enormous friction. Our research actually quantified this. Something like 62% of streaming users report feeling genuinely overwhelmed by the number of services needed just to watch what they like.
62% overwhelmed. That's huge.
It is. And that fatigue directly leads to cancellations. People just give up. But here's the kicker. When they cancel, they don't necessarily stop watching the shows. They often just switch straight over to the illegal options that put everything back in one place.
And this fragmentation isn't just about needing multiple apps, is it? There are deeper issues.
Right. We see 2 really big twin problems making reliable access almost impossible. First is what we just discussed, content migration. These licensing deals are constantly churning, expiring, renewing, shifting. So you, as a consumer, simply cannot build reliable, long-term viewing habits around a specific service. The industry treats its core product like temporary inventory.
But I want permanence. If I subscribe to Disney Plus there, I expect Star Wars to be there.
You'd think so. But sometimes, even that gets complicated with older distribution deals. And the second major problem, especially frustrating for a global audience, is regional restrictions. Geo-blocking.
Ah, the VPN's best friend.
Exactly. A show might be a Netflix original in the US, but in the UK, maybe Sky has the exclusive rights. Or in Australia, it's just unavailable legally. Anywhere. This is a hangover from old TV and film territorial licensing deals. For today's global internet user, it makes absolutely no sense. It's infuriating.
And it explains why VPN usage has skyrocketed among regular streamers, doesn't it? People aren't trying to be hackers, they're just trying to watch a show that's legally available somewhere else.
Precisely. They're willing to pay the subscription fee for the service in that other country, often. But the services actively block them based purely on geography. It's maddening.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the piracy world didn't just sit back and watch this chaos unfold. They saw a market opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. They recognized the massive service failure by the legal industry and engineered a technically superior product, ironically.
You mean these pirate aggregator apps and sites?
Yes. They are so popular precisely because they delivered the unified experience that mainstream streaming promised but then abandoned. Think of them as illegal, all-in-one streaming platforms built on stolen goods. They scrape everything, Netflix shows, Disney Plus movies, HBO series, Peacock exclusives, everything, and funnel it all into one single, searchable, easy-to-use interface.
So they're providing the convenience and unification the legal market actively refuses to deliver, and no region locks.
Exactly. It's the perfect solution to the subscription labyrinth the industry created. One app, one search bar, everything's there.
And you're saying the data shows people are actively choosing these aggregators?
Without a doubt. This isn't just theory. Our data, confirmed by MUSO, shows that half of all piracy traffic in 2024 still goes directly to these sophisticated aggregator sites and apps. Think about that. If people only cared about free, they'd just use basic download sites or torrents. Those are often clunkier. The dominance of these slick, streaming-first aggregators proves the point. The ultimate driver for a huge chunk of piracy is convenience, unification, and reliable access. They solve the user experience problem the legal industry created.
Okay, to really hammer home this point about availability trumping price for many people, maybe we should shift focus for a minute. There's a really compelling case study happening right now in a different sector, publishing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the explosion in manga and anime piracy. It's quite dramatic and illustrates the core problem perfectly. Basically, Japanese animation and comics have seen this phenomenal global surge in popularity over the last 5, maybe 10 years. Huge, passionate fan bases worldwide.
Yeah, anime is everywhere now.
Everywhere. But the legal infrastructure, the official distribution channels, they just haven't kept pace with this explosion in demand. It created a massive scarcity problem.
And the piracy numbers reflect that scarcity.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Get this, manga Japanese comics now accounts for roughly 70% of all digital publishing piracy globally.
70%, just from manga.
Just for manga. That single category surge drove a 4.3% increase in overall publishing piracy in 2024. This happened while piracy in other digital publishing areas like ebooks or magazines remained relatively flat. It's a highly concentrated failure to serve a specific, massive, engaged audience.
So why? Why are these fans who you say are passionate, dedicated, often spending money on related merchandise, figures, attending conventions, why are they turning to illegal scanlation sites?
It boils down almost entirely to availability and timeliness. It's not about saving, a few dollars on a digital volume for most of them. It's the wait.
The delay between the Japanese release and the official international version.
It's exactly. For dedicated fans who follow series weekly, that delay is often unbearable. New episodes of anime series might face months-long delays before they get an official subtitled or dubbed release internationally. If they get one in that fan's particular region, sometimes the rights just aren't picked up.
And manga is even worse.
Awesome, yes. Many popular manga series that run for years in Japan never receive an official English translation. Or they face delays of years as publishers wait to release collected volumes instead of simultaneous digital chapters. This creates this huge cultural disconnect. The conversation is happening now online about the latest chapter, but the legal reader might be months or years behind or have no access at all.
So the fans took matters into their own hands.
Instantly and effectively. These passionate fans who desperately want to read, say, Chapter 102 the day it drops in Japan, they look around and find zero legal options. So what happens? Fan translation groups, scanlators step in. This used to be a kind of niche underground hobby.
Right, small groups online.
Yeah. Now, many have become incredibly efficient, large-scale, almost mainstream distribution operations. They scan the Japanese release, translate it, clean it up, and post it online, often within hours, for free. They completely fill the void left by the official industry's slow pace and regional gaps.
Wow, so the lesson here for the film and TV streaming world seems pretty stark then.
It's crystal clear. Look at these manga piracy sites. They're often well-run, ad-supported, totally free. Yet their audience is demonstrably one of the most dedicated, willing-to-spend consumer groups out there. The failure isn't on the consumer side. It's purely logistical. You simply cannot pay for content that isn't offered to you legally in your region or in a timely manner. The second, there's a significant gap between content creation and legal availability. Piracy doesn't just trickle in, it floods in to meet that unmet demand.
So the takeaway for video streaming is, if people are that desperate for timely access, whether it's the latest episode of a hit show or a niche anime, they will find a way. It really drives home that availability and speed often matter way more than the specific price tag. It's an infrastructure problem, not just greed.
Exactly. It's a service design failure.
Okay, so if the video streaming industry is creating this problem through fragmentation and poor availability, is there a model that actually worked? An industry that faced this and fixed it?
There is a perfect, almost textbook example. The music industry. They faced an absolutely existential threat, remember. Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, illegal file sharing basically decimated their business model in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, it was chaos. Albums leaking weeks early, sales plummeting.
Complete chaos. They were forced, kicking and screaming mostly, to confront the exact same service problem that the video industry is wrestling with now.
Okay.
And eventually, they solved it.
And they solved it spectacularly well, didn't they? I mean, think about Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music today.
They really did. These platforms offer enormous catalogs, tens of millions of songs, for one single, relatively low monthly subscription price. And crucially, as a listener, you don't care which major label owns the rights to a song. You don't need separate subscriptions for Universal Music, Sony Music, and Warner Music tracks.
Right. It's all just there. The licensing complexity is totally hidden from the user.
That invisibility is the absolute key insight. The music industry, after years of pain, finally realized the consumer experience had to be unified and seamless. It wasn't easy, mind you. It took years of brutal lawsuits, complex negotiations, and ultimately cooperation between fierce competitors, the major labels, and the tech platforms. They had to build global licensing frameworks that allowed this kind of unified access. They essentially had to swallow their competitive pride because the alternative was watching their entire industry burn down.
And the result of that massive, painful, but ultimately consumer-focused shift.
The result has been profound. Music piracy has absolutely plummeted. MUSO's data showed another drop of almost 19% in music piracy visits in 2024 alone. It's trending consistently downwards.
19% drop while video piracy is soaring.
Exactly. The general consensus among consumers now is that pirating music just isn't worth the hassle or the risk anymore. Why bother? The legal alternative, Spotify, Apple Music, etc., is simply better. It's more convenient, offers higher quality audio, gives you personalized recommendations, works seamlessly across all your devices.
It's genuinely superior to the pirate options of the past.
Yes.
Yes.
They proved, conclusively, that convenience beats free, but only when the legal option is genuinely frictionless and offers added value. That unified access model was the game changer.
Okay, let's draw that contrast really sharply now with video streaming, because this is where the failure becomes so obvious. In music, pay maybe $10, $15 a month, get access to virtually all recorded music, globally, instantly. Simple.
Simple. Now video.
Video. Pay maybe $70, $80, even $100 a month for 5 different services. And you still don't get everything you want. You need a spreadsheet to remember which service has which show this month. Your favorite series might vanish overnight. And you might need a VPN on top of that just to watch something legally streaming in Canada or the UK.
It's a night and day difference in user experience. The fragmentation in video is actively paralyzing the user experience and, as the data shows, driving people away from the legal market.
Now, hold on. I can hear the counter-argument forming. People will say, but wait, making a blockbuster movie or a season of prestige TV costs hundreds of millions. Recording a song costs way less. Isn't that why video has to be fragmented and expensive?
That argument comes up constantly, and frankly, it's a bit of a smokescreen used by the video industry to justify a broken service model. Yes, production costs are vastly different. Nobody denies that. But consumers aren't sitting there comparing the budget of Avatar to the budget of the latest Taylor Swift album.
Right. They're comparing their own experience using the services.
Exactly. They're comparing the user experience. They compare the seamless, unified joy of Spotify, I want to hear this song, click it plays, to the utter nightmare of managing 5 video apps, confusing interfaces, expiring licenses, and regional blocks. The frustration isn't about the absolute dollar cost of production. It's about the perceived value and convenience they get for the money they do spend on subscriptions.
So, until the video streaming world can somehow replicate that unified access, that convenience factor that music achieved regardless of the production cost difference, they're going to keep losing these unwilling pirates.
That's what our analysis strongly suggests. The core problem isn't the price of making content. It's the failure of infrastructure, cooperation, and service design in delivering that content effectively to the paying customer. Now, to be fair, there are signs the industry is finally starting to wake up to this reality. After years of just hoarding content and launching competing services, we are seeing moves toward consolidation.
Which is an admission, really, that the fragmentation strategy went too far, right?
It has to be seen that way, yes. It's an acknowledgement that the model is causing significant consumer pain.
And we're seeing this mainly in the form of these new streaming bundles, trying to simplify things a bit.
Right. Bundles are the main tactic right now. They aim to reduce that subscription fatigue by packaging multiple services together, usually for a slightly discounted price compared to subscribing separately.
The big one everyone talks about is the Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max bundle, right?
It's probably the most prominent and arguably valuable one so far. It combines three really major diverse content libraries. You get all the Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, National Geographic stuff, plus Hulu's broad catalog and originals, and all the HBO, Discovery, and Warner Bros. Content from Max.
Right.
That's a pretty compelling package that definitely reduces the hassle for millions of households.
And besides direct bundles, there are also these attempts to integrate services within a single interface, like Amazon Prime channels or Apple TV channels.
Yes, that's another approach, trying to mimic that aggregator convenience legally. Amazon, for instance, lets you subscribe to services like Paramount Plus or Stars through your Prime Video account. You access that content within the Prime Video app itself.
So one interface, maybe one search, one bill.
Often, yes. It gives you a taste of that unified experience without needing to constantly jump between different apps. It's definitely a step towards addressing the convenience problem.
Okay, these bundles and integrations sound like progress, but let's be critical. Have they actually solved the piracy problem? The numbers you gave earlier suggest not yet.
Not even close, unfortunately. They are at best partial solutions right now. Think about it. Most current bundles only combine maybe 2 or 3 major services. But we know the average household is juggling 5 or more. So even with a bundle, you likely still need 2 or 3 other separate subscriptions, separate bills, separate apps to cover everything you watch. They chip away at the fragmentation, but they don't eliminate it.
And there are still huge content gaps, even within the bundles.
Massive gaps remain. The biggest one is probably live sports. Major sports leagues have their rights scattered across traditional broadcast networks, cable channels like ESPN, and then platform-specific deals, think NFL on Peacock, MLS on Apple TV, plus baseball on various regional networks.
Right, getting all the games you want legally is basically impossible without multiple expensive packages.
Exactly. There is no single unified bundle anywhere that gives comprehensive access to all major live sports. The pirate aggregators, however, they often excel here, offering streams of virtually every game from every league alongside all the movies and TV shows in that single interface. They still hold the convenience advantage, especially for sports fans.
Okay, so bundles are a start, but not a solution. What about the other response, just cracking down harder with technology and legal action?
Ah, yes, the whack-a-mole approach.
Yeah.
The industry is definitely investing heavily in anti-piracy tech. We're talking sophisticated stuff. AI and machine learning algorithms constantly scanning the web for illegal streams, advanced content recognition watermarking.
Things like that ERS protocol you mentioned.
Right, the Enhanced Rights Authentication System. That uses fancy encryption and watermarking to try and track leaks back to their source. And governments are stepping up pressure too, with things like the EU's piracy watch list, pushing internet service providers, ISPs, to block access to known pirate sites.
Okay, lots of tech, lots of legal threats. But the core question for us here at the Urban Herald is, so what does this all mean? Can you actually enforce your way out of a fundamental service problem?
Our analysis says, no, you really can't, not on its own. All that technology and enforcement, it can make piracy harder, yes. It can make it riskier, maybe more inconvenient for the casual user. But if the legal alternative remains a fragmented, expensive, inconvenient mess, dedicated users will always find workarounds. Pirates are incredibly adaptable.
Like whack-a-mole, as you said. Shut down one big site.
And the traffic just instantly shifts to 3 or 4 smaller, harder-to-track sites, or to private Discord servers or Telegram channels. You don't eliminate the demand, you just displace the supply. Ultimately, the legal industry have to win by outcompeting the pirates on convenience, value, and user experience. Trying to just block everything is a losing battle if your own service offering is flawed.
We need to circle back to the price factor, though, because even if it's secondary, it's clearly a source of pain.
Oh, absolutely. Let's put some numbers on that pain. The cost of maintaining access in this fragmented world is climbing fast globally. In the US, the average household is now spending somewhere between $42 and $90 a month just on streaming subscriptions.
Yeah.
Recent surveys put that average right around $69.
$69 a month average. And some pay much more.
A lot more. About a quarter of US consumers are shelling out over $100 every single month just for streaming video.
Okay, wait. That sounds like a huge driver for piracy. If people are paying $70, $100 a month, surely that's why they're looking for free alternatives. How can that be secondary?
It's an excellent question, and it really gets to the heart of why this is complex. We say price is secondary based on two key observations from the data. First, look at individual service growth, particularly Netflix. They've raised their prices multiple times, significantly. They cracked down hard on password sharing, effectively another price hike for many.
And you get.
They continue to add millions of subscribers globally. People are willing to pay premium prices, even rising prices, if they perceive sufficient value and exclusivity in that single service.
Okay, so willingness to pay for one valuable service exists even if it gets more expensive. What's the second observation?
It's what we call the fragmentation multiplier effect. The price only becomes the absolute deal breaker, the primary driver for piracy, when that high cumulative cost, let's say $75 for 5 services, is combined with the terrible user experience of fragmentation. The value proposition completely breaks down. It's not just that $75 is objectively too high for entertainment. It's that the $75 buys you almost zero convenience. It buys you 5 logins, 5 search bars, 5 bills, and a library where shows disappear without warning.
That makes perfect sense. The inconvenience dramatically lowers the perceived value of what you're paying for. If that same $75 bought you a single, unified app with 90% of the content reliably there, people might grumble, but they'd probably pay it. Because it doesn't. The $75 feels outrageous for the hassle involved.
Precisely. The inconvenience multiplies the pain of the price. And this isn't just a U.S. issue. It's global. Look at emerging markets where incomes are lower. We found data for Brazil, for example. Getting comprehensive premium access across all the major platforms there can easily top our $340 per month.
Our 340, what's that in US dollars roughly?
It fluctuates, but it's around $65 US. Now, $65 might sound lower than the U.S. average, but it represents a much larger chunk of disposable income in the Brazilian market. So when the cost is relatively high and the service is incredibly inconvenient and fragmented, that unwilling pirate we talked about just becomes, well, an almost inevitable pirate. It's the only practical option for many.
And the fatigue numbers back this up everywhere.
Across the board. That's 62% of users feeling overwhelmed by subscriptions, and about a third saying they're actively canceling services, specifically because of the cost and complexity combined. The industry is essentially training its customers to seek alternatives by making the legal option increasingly expensive and increasingly difficult to use compared to 5 years ago.
So, wrapping this section up, the core finding holds.
Yes, our reading of all the data, including MUSO's global tracking, points squarely back to this. Piracy, in its current form, is fundamentally a service problem. It's a rational, predictable consumer response to failures within the legal streaming industry. To win, the industry has to compete head-on with pirates by offering superior convenience and value. Simply trying to block access or keep hiking prices on fragmented services, that's just going to keep feeding the piracy beast. Hashtag tag outro.
Okay, so the final verdict from our analysis here at the Urban Herald seems pretty clear-cut, if a bit grim for the industry. In their mad dash for exclusivity and market share over the past decade, the streaming giants basically ended up replicating the very worst parts of old-school cable TV. The gatekeeping, the fragmentation, the bundling frustrations, the high costs. And then they just slapped slicker interfaces on top. Piracy, seen this way, isn't some moral failing. It's just a practical reaction to that broken promise of easy, abundant access.
That's the core takeaway. And the warning light for the industry is flashing bright red right now. The current trends, rising prices alongside worsening fragmentation, are completely unsustainable. Consumer patience, as the data shows, is wearing incredibly thin. The frustrating part is the solutions exist. The technology is there. The business models are proven. Look at music. What's missing seems to be the corporate willpower to actually cooperate.
To prioritize the overall consumer experience, the health of the whole ecosystem over just maximizing short-term competitive advantage for one platform.
Exactly. That seems to be the hurdle.
So looking ahead, the choice seems pretty stark, doesn't it? Either continue down this path of fragmentation, keep raising prices, and watch piracy continue to eat away at the entire legal streaming model, or finally embrace meaningful consolidation and cooperation to deliver that unified, convenient service consumers are clearly desperate for.
That really is the crossroads. And maybe we can leave you, our listener, with one final provocative thought to mull over, something that came up in our source analysis. The data suggests something quite interesting. Films that get a simultaneous release, meaning they're in theaters and available for premium digital purchase or rental online at the same time, actually tend to see less piracy than big blockbusters that go straight to a subscription service after their theatrical run.
Less piracy when it's more widely available, even for a premium price.
It seems counterintuitive, right? But
Yeah.
it points towards that availability factor again. So here's the question it raises. If building truly comprehensive unified subscription bundles proves too politically difficult or takes too long for the industry, could making more top-tier content available through temporary, non-subscription rental or purchase windows, a genuine return to a premium digital blockbuster model, actually be a faster way to reduce piracy right now by satisfying that immediate demand, compared to waiting years for these fragmented services to finally consolidate properly?
Huh. Offer more ways to pay and watch legally outside the subscription walls.
Could that be a quicker fix? Something for you to think about next time you're lost in the streaming labyrinth trying to find that one show.